Hey, and welcome back, everyone, to Seesaw. We are here once again with a guest. We have Richard from Knights of the Braille.
Is that where you want me to step in and say, "Hey, I'm Richard, redneck"? Or I was looking for visual clues and did not see the first one. You know.
No, there's no worries. There's no worries. Like I didn't exactly say, "Oh, I'm going to say this," and then you jump in, because yeah, we're professionals here. Yeah, we prep people and all that sort of stuff.
Ain't skippy hippie, you know.
Yeah. So how's it going, man?
It's going good. Can't complain a whole lot. Not that anybody in this world nowadays gives a dang, but you know, I'm peachy as can be right now.
Awesome. And you're coming from a very hot area of the world, aren't you, at the moment?
Yes. Most people know where Florida is, and that's the easiest way to explain to people where I am from, because I am from about 30 minutes above the Florida state line. So not only do we get heat, we get the idiotic Yankees that come down here for the winter time as well, coming through town. So, we get screwed on both ends of the pooch.
Do you get any of the old folks migrating up?
Oh, usually not, because they can't move fast enough to get in their car and get on the interstate, but that's what we call Florida is South New York, but there's a lot of retired people like down here where, not exactly like where I'm at, but down in Florida near us. So it's crazy.
Awesome. Well, it's hot here as well. Not as hot as it is going to be there, but for Brits, like we're closed up in the studio here as well. All the windows are shut, and within 5 minutes, I'm already sweating.
So I'll try to talk as long as I can to make y'all stay in there. But I understand where you're coming from.
Well, it's great to have you, man. And of course, we got you on today to talk about something that me and Cleaves know very little about. And as people who regularly listen to the show know, we get guests on that we are interested in talking to. So that's why we have Richard on to talk about tabletop RPGs, all things that are, I don't know, Dungeons and Dragons, various things like that. Again, we are completely new to this, so Richard, just jump in at any point, correct us if we're making assumptions. But to kick off, do you mind sort of letting us know like your conditions, or like what your sight levels are and all of that side of things?
I am a total blind person, unsighted, fully blind, whatever term best fits people who can't see a dang thing. As I tell a lot of people, I have like anal glaucoma. My ass can't see anything. So I like to joke and have fun with it. That's my personality. I lost my sight this year, be 22 years ago, in a car wreck. So no sight, but it still doesn't stop, me doing what I enjoy. Except driving. The law enforcement around here really looked down on that. Although they did try to give me renew my license back whenever it had expired. A total different story. That's just the Georgia Department of Motor Vehicles for you, though.
You should just brought them up on it, and then just when you get pulled over, it's like, no, you renewed my license, so I must be okay.
Yeah.
Well, I thought about it, but I couldn't afford the insurance, because I guarantee I'd have took out more than just one or two mailboxes. But yeah, I'm a total blind computer user and gamer and whatever else you want to call me.
Fair. Well, it must have been tough, like losing your sight in a wreck like that. And yeah, it's coming from me and Cleaves, like we've always had our conditions and had to deal with them from various points in life. So to have it snatched away at that point must be devastating, to say the least.
Me and Jim, who started Knights of Braille, have talked about this at length, and he has the Stargardt's disease, and to me, it would be harder for me to have my sight slowly go away, and dreading it. For him, he says it would be tough for him to just wake up and not have it at all. So I think it depends on which shoe you're wearing as to, how you feel about it. you know, for people who are losing it slowly, you know, I had the utmost respect for them, you know, for putting on a good face or, you know, good tone in their voice or however you want to call it, you know. So it just depends on which side of the fence you're on.
Yeah, absolutely. Well, if we well, we'll go into serious stuff before we get into like the deep darkness that is talking sight loss, and hopefully chat about something a bit more happy and sort of like grounded in fun. So before like you lost your sight, were you sort of into tabletop RPGs, that sort of side of gaming?
No, that was for nerds, geeks, and people who didn't have a life.
I'm so glad you said that, because I came onto this thinking, oh my God, this isn't normally my thing. Like when I grew up, I was like, hey, buddy, did you get a load of the nerd?
Yeah, that was me. I was making fun of those kids that played Dungeons and Dragons and all other stuff like that, you know. And now it's like, you know, I'm not exactly a geek, because a geek is worse than being a nerd. But I got the NER of nerd. I'm slowly working on it, you know.
So when did you sort of like first get into these tabletop games?
It's been about 3 years ago, I believe. Like I was telling Chad whenever I was on his podcast, the older that I get, the less that I remember about dates. So I believe it was about 3 years ago. It was pre-COVID anyway, and I was hanging out with a friend and his family, and a mutual friend of ours said, "Hey, I bet he'd really like Dungeons and Dragons, you know, because it's all about the imagination." And I thought, you know what, I was like 34, 35 at the time. I thought, you know what, I don't care what people think about me anymore. You know, screw them. If they don't like me, they can go somewhere else and, you know, kiss me where the good Lord split me. So we went down and picked up the starter set, and of course it's not accessible at all, you know, because it's all printed. And started opening up the box when we got back to his house, and he didn't know what he was doing. I sure enough didn't know what I was doing, you know. And we just got a hold of a friend of mine that used to play it, you know, the guy that I called nerd and all that back in high school. And he was like, "Oh yeah, I'll run it for you, no problem." So, you know, be careful about what you say about certain people, because chances are they will come back and be in your life later on. You know?
And I will be apologizing.
Very much so. Bought much pizza for him.
Awesome. So just reading the notes here. Cleves, you got the notes up?
Mm-hmm.
Am I playing up? See, professionals.
That's when you wing it.
Yeah, I was going to, but then I thought, like, let's try and be professional as much as we can.
Nope.
That's what a game master does.
Yeah.
Some of them may take notes. I rarely look at mine anymore.
Fair. So when you realised it was like inaccessible, like that must have been like, I mean, if that was me, I would have been like put off immediately. Like, I can't do this, and like walked away. But obviously you went, carried on with it. Like, what were your first sort of like workarounds and thoughts about how to change it up so you could sort of access the game?
Well, opening it up, and I knew it was printed material, so I knew it wouldn't be accessible, so I wasn't too concerned about that. But like I've told you, I am a redneck, so I'm very stubborn and always have been. So of course I got to, you know, looking on the internet, found D&D Beyond that, you know, had some stuff, but thankfully Googlepedia, as I call it, that has every answer to everything you want to know, and some things that you had no intention of ever wanting to know. I found all kinds of resources that were, you know, digital and that my screen reader would read. The dungeon master, or game master, as most people like to call them now, helped me build out a sheet that I could use on like Microsoft WordPad, so that I could, you know, keep up, you know, with my character and take notes and stuff like that from my laptop. So he was very instrumental in, you know, helping me really get started in 2 different ways. And then, you know, the more that I played, the madder I got about the inaccessibility, and, you know, found Knights of Braille and, you know, wanted to do something about it to make it more accessible. So it's been a slow walk or slow tour, I guess you could say, but, you know, we're getting there now. It's still going to be slow, but at least we're making progress.
So how did Knights of the Braille start?
Jim started it back in, I believe, November of 2018. And I had, you know, come across it there, but, you know, wasn't really involved at the time because I didn't have a whole lot of time. Then, you know, COVID hit in 2020, and it's like I have nothing but time now.
Yeah.
But he started it to get a group or a community of like-minded people, like you know, people with disabilities, even people without disabilities, you know, together just to have fun and have a community where they could go and talk about things and, you know, have fun playing games. We have, I believe at last count was over 400 people in our Discord server, and we have quite a few what I call sighties, you know, people who can see, you know, but it's a community for everybody. You know, anybody can go in there and feel welcome, you know, and all different kinds of games, but it's mostly Jim started for a community where people could, you know, meet and have fun and, you know, not have to worry about getting out and getting in the world and things like that.
So what actually is Knights of the Braille? What kind of games is it that you do?
How much time you got? We actually have several games on our server right now. I previously ran a Star Wars 5e tabletop game, which they are so helpful. Some of their stuff was inaccessible. I just emailed their guy, and within an hour, it was made accessible.
That's great.
Totally free. So, you know, you can't beat the price there. But unfortunately, you know, time got away from me and I had to drop that campaign. But there's a game that we have called Lasers and Feelings. Don't know much about that. But we have a game called Cats, which is where you play a cat. Unfortunately, I have not got to play a session of that yet, you know. And, you know, I keep talking to the game master like, hey, you know, I would like to play that every once in a while. Because I'd love to be a badass like feral street cat, you know, or be like Garfield. But I run a modified D&D game on Wednesday nights. A buddy of mine runs straight up D&D. Let's see. And I know there's recently got through playing a game of Mothership, which is like a science fiction horror RPG, which is a lot of fun to run that. We've had some Dungeon World out there, which is really, really basic. D&D is the best way to explain it. And I know there's probably a couple other games that I just can't remember right off the top of my head, because unlike y'all, I'm not professional, so I do not take notes about everything that goes on. But, you know, any game is welcome there, you know, as long as you're having fun and, you know, that it's enjoyable to everybody.
Yeah. You said you were running like a modified sort of D&D game. How does that work? What's your sort of role? What is it you do for like other people? Are you the game master in that?
I am in that one, yes. And what I did is I absolutely hate math. I was not good at it whenever I was in school. I definitely am not good about it now that I'm out of school. You know, I can't see my fingers and toes to count, you know, so, but what I do is the Dungeon World game has an engine in it, which is like a very basic of what you need to do to roll to hit. I took that and put that into my D&D game to make it easier, quicker, you know, and smoother, hopefully, while we play. But as far as everything else, I use the, you know, mostly D&D rules unless somebody can come up with something cool. because my first and foremost rule with any game that I run is to have fun. And if you're not having fun, what can I do to make it fun?
So all the characters and stuff in the, like, do you get like a crib sheet, and how do people kind of read that?
They're using D&D Beyond because it is now accessible again for us. After a couple of years of us like hounding the piss out of them to get it accessible, and it finally got that way again. And we can integrate D&D Beyond, our account out there, with a bot that we use on Discord called my screener says Avery, so I say Avery. It's a bot out there that we can use to roll with and determine our scores. And it integrates like your health, your spells, and all of that onto the Discord channel where we're rolling at. And you can either roll in the actual channel or you can roll from your sheet on D&D Beyond. And it reads it just like any other web page. You know, very simple. Yeah, it may take a little getting used to, but once you do it, it moves really, really good.
That's really good. Like, especially sort of like, I can't imagine what it would have been like, say 20 years ago. I don't know, Braille dice and stuff like that. Because surely there would have been sort of a culture of like D&D and other games beforehand. But I think with everything, like technology is making everything so streamlined. It's great to hear that you're going to companies and saying, can you make this accessible? And they're doing it, which is fantastic to hear.
Yeah, thankfully they did. Once enough of us, kept repeatedly emailing them, because I'm sure y'all come across this. We are a minority, even though there's a lot of us that have some form of disability, and a lot of companies or publishers don't want to come across as saying, "Well, you're not worth the effort." They'll just say, "Oh, we're quote unquote working on it," and they're actually not. But once D&D Beyond got a good group of programmers in there that really cared about it, I mean, it was a matter of a month or two, I think, before it got to where it was usable. And it seems like it gets better each and every time that I sign in and create another character for no specific reason other than I'm bored and want to create one. Now we've ran across some publishers who I won't name, but have been rather, I don't know how y'all say it over there, but we call them dickheads down here.
Yeah, well, we have that, yeah.
Okay. But they've been that towards us, and of course that means to me I'm not buying any of their products. I won't use any of their products or anything like that for my own personal moral reasons. But for the majority of them that I know Jim and I have come across, they've been really helpful, and will say, sure, you can, make it accessible and distribute it, because we're not going to make or break them either way. But, it's always good to have somebody who's willing to say, oh, sure, what can I do to help make it accessible? So it's an awesome thing to come across. The good ones make up for the bad ones all day long.
Do you come up with their own games as well? And how do you come up with those?
I have come up with a couple. I will never publish them, granted, but they were fun to run, like a quick little thing to, because I didn't feel like setting up a session for D&D. But it's really simple that you roll a dice and that's what your stat is. No matter if it's a 6 or if it's a 1, you're going to deal with it. And then, like, if you come across a monster or the big baddie, whatever you want to call it, there, you'll hit. But whatever you roll on that D6 or the 6-sided dice is how much damage you cause. You're going to hit it either way, but whatever you roll is how much damage you cause.
Yeah.
And I've come up with like a D&D 5e kind of one-shot setting. I'm not sure if y'all watch cooking shows or not, but and I can't remember the name of it now, but we would have judges judge these people who would be cooking like D&D type dishes, like troll skin burgers or knuckle-headed trout or some kind of cheese and stuff like that. Just mostly it's role play just to have fun, not worry about things that are going on in the world, just get together, have a couple laughs, and mostly bull crap with each other around our virtual table.
Yeah, I mean that's awesome, man. Like, especially considering that it's so open to everyone. Like you said, on your server, you have sighted people, people with other disabilities, and like you're really opening up that community.
Right,
and that's great.
We even have British people out there. I mean, if you can imagine it, but yeah, it's for anybody and everybody. I think over the past, since I've been involved with Knights, I think we've had 3 that left the server because they could not get along with anybody, and it was them. It wasn't the rest of the community. They just couldn't get along with people. It seemed like, and I think it was more they had just lost their sight. So the way I feel that everybody goes through stages, like you go through the angry stage, and I think that's the stage that they were in, and we're basically mad at the world.
No, I mean, sight loss is always a tough thing, and as you said, like everyone deals with it differently. And I go through sight loss journey myself. Like you're right, you do go through stages, and I don't know, I go through stages every single day. Like wake up in the morning, like, oh, great day, and then you break something, and you're like, oh, for fuck's sake, really?
That's why I have plastic stuff around here.
Yeah,
I just drop it and it rolls.
Yeah, even now I'm drinking wine out of a tumbler because I don't trust myself with an actual wine glass because I've broken so many. It's like my wife won't let me have actual wine glasses anymore, and eventually it'll be one of those sippy cup things. It's like, no, you can have that because it won't spill.
Just give me the bottle.
I dare not do that while we're recording on video. Like, I mean, what would that say about me? Not that I have much of a reputation.
I don't know. I'd say you have wine taste when you need moonshine. It's a lot better for you.
Oh well, we run out of whiskey. That's the thing. We put the world to rights yesterday with a bottle of whiskey, and now we're on to other things.
There you go. Whatever floats your boat.
Absolutely. So, I suppose like this is one of the loaded questions out there. Like, of course, like you said, you were not one of the kids playing these games when you were younger. I certainly wasn't. Cleves wasn't, and it's the world's changed. So, is sort of tabletop RPGs and D&D? Do you find there's been like a cultural shift with the attitude towards them? Is it much more accepted as, oh, that's cool, man, do what you want to do, or is it still a little bit people, okay?
Not really a loaded question. I think it's more of a regional question. Living down in the South, there's always that stigma of that it's evil, it's Satan worshiping, it's demonic, whatever you want to call it, that's what it is. I think while I don't particularly like Critical Role because the episodes are fucking forever, a lot of people do, and I think that got it into the mainstream. And I think getting it into the mainstream has gotten it to where it's more accepted by more people. It's gotten popular, and that's why it's accepted now. It's the quote unquote cool thing to do. I mean, because you get Vin Diesel or however you say his name, him playing, and you get celebrities playing, and oh, well, if they can do it, so can I. Whereas me, it's like, oh, fuck, I'm 38 years old or 34. I don't give a damn what anybody thinks about me anymore. I'm going to play it if I want to play it, and, screw everybody else. But I think the popularity has come because of certain individuals playing it, and therefore the acceptance has changed, because it is without a doubt the most popular tabletop game out there, and will always be, in my opinion. But there are others out there as well.
Do you think Stranger Things helped it become popular?
I'm fixing to be judged, and I don't care because I told y'all I don't care. I've never watched a full episode of Stranger Things.
Do you quit after the role-playing bit's done?
No, I couldn't get in. I tried watching it, and it's like, this is boring as hell. I'm going to go back to reading or something. I just couldn't get into it. Now I've been judged by people in my group like, oh, I can't be friends with you. Well, like I told y'all, fuck you then. Go on. But it just wasn't one of those things for me. Now I've always liked fantasy and sword play and magical stuff, but never thought about, oh, I could sit around the table and be a wizard, or I could be a sorcerer. Oh, I could be Harry Potter for a little bit,
Yeah.
But as far as Stranger Things, it probably did help a lot of other people get into it. Fortunately for me, I was already into it a little bit before I found out about Stranger Things. So, it's like, it did not get me into it. The boredom hanging out with a friend and his family got me into it.
Yeah.
Oh, that's fair. And yeah, just on the whole like cultural shift, like you said, like I grew up in like a house where I had three brothers all into sport, and it's like playing video games and all that was accepted, but it's like you get your head kicked in. Like if you're like, oh, I'm gonna go play Dungeons and Dragons at a mate, it's like the fuck you are.
You freaking weirdo. Look at that emo kid over there.
Yeah.
What's he doing with them dice? But I know exactly the stigma you're talking about, because living down here in the South, I dealt with it. That's why I didn't play back then. And you look at all them like, oh, they're devil worshippers. No, they're not. They're human just like we are. Well, most of them are human. Some of them I'm a little worried about, but they're people, and that's what they're into. So what? They're not into sports. So what? They're not into, plays or things like that. They're into what they're into, and screw you for judging somebody. That's how I feel now, but back then I was the ones doing the judging, and it's just not cool to me anymore.
If you're a new person coming into this sort of thing, how do you get started?
First of all, I mean, not to be a smart ass, because I can be, you have to really be interested in it enough, and to want to give it a shot, and you have to want to have fun. I'm a game master that, like I said, I want the group to have fun, but start thinking of like a character that you want to play. Get the idea in your head. I can help you create a character. Anybody on the server, can help you create a character, would be willing to help you create one. Think about what you want to be, and it's a game master's, to me, I look at it as it's my job to make it happen. You want to be a skeleton cowboy from the 1812s carrying a flamethrower. Okay, I can make that happen. You want to be a fairy carrying 6-shooters and flying around in the air, shooting somebody. Okay, I've actually had that in my group. Find what you want to be, and we will make it work.
Can people
if
just
that answers your question?
Yeah, can people just, in terms of the games, can people just sort of show up mid-game, or do you have to start at the beginning and it kind of rolls on over a number of weeks? How does that side work?
There's 3 really different answers to that, and I'll go over them all. I run campaigns, which is ongoing adventures that continue going and going. They can be hundreds of episodes. In fact, I heard about one the other day that's been going on for like, I think, 40 years. Talk about nerds and geeks. I mean, but and there's I've run some arcs, which is like, say, 3 to 4, maybe 5 sessions. We just got through with Quest of the Braille, which was, I ran Mothership for a 4-session arc, and then I ran a game called Adventure Skeletons for a 2-session arc. Arcs are much, much shorter. And then you have what we call one-shots, which is a session and a story that is supposed to be over in a 3 to 4 hour game session. I've ran some one-shots that unfortunately went into a second session, but I mean, that's okay. But your main goal is to have it done within 3 to 4 hours or one sitting. That's why it's called a one-shot. So there's your 3 different types that at least I'm aware of. There may be some other ones out there, but that's the 3 main ones, at least.
I mean, it's good that like with that, it's catering to like lots of different tastes. And I suppose if you're a beginner, you could always start off with a one shot and be like, oh, let's give it a go without the, like you said, daunting 40 years. I mean, that's a hell of a commitment, man. I mean, mortgages aren't even that long. Like,
Exactly.
Paid off my house and my kids have grown up and graduated, and like I'm still playing this fucking game at this point.
It's like happy birthday. They turn 18, get their ass out the door, and roll the d20. All right.
I'm not done yet.
Yeah, your character's dead. See you later. But yeah, there's, you know, and we have all kinds. We have, you know, some one shots that'll pop up every once in a while. I've actually been thinking about running another one shot whenever I started, you know, talking to Chad from Hindsight 2200. Shameless plug there. He owes me $5. I have to tell him. But you know, we do a lot of the one shots like for new people who join and, you know, at least like to get their quote unquote feet wet, or, you know, just have something to do like on a lonely Saturday evening, because most of us have no lives and, you know, nothing else to do. But, you know, we host those every once in a while.
Awesome. Well, you know what, man, it's been great chatting to you, and like it's been really interesting to hear about it, and that it's such an open community and so accessible, and that it's always growing. I think that's what I was sort of surprised about when you said, well, there's always new games and we're getting them like more, like they're getting accessible. And
Yes.
those who aren't interested were saying, oh well, fuck you, like whatever, like there's other games to play, like don't get up on your high horse.
Oh, yeah, because I think last time I counted the TTRPGs that I have purchased and, you know, gotten free ones, I think I'm up over 50 now.
Wow.
Yeah.
A lot of games.
Yeah, I am that guy now. You know? But it's a very, very open and wonderful, helpful community.
Awesome. So if people want to get involved, like how do they get in touch with yourselves?
You can email me at knightsofthebraille@gmail.com. That's KNIGHTSOFTHEBRAILLE@gmail.com. Had to make sure I spelled that right. And you can find us on Twitter at Braille Knights. And we also have a website that I run and, you know, designed after Jim, you know, had started it. I went back in and updated it, and it's at www.knightsofthebraille.com. And you know, you can email us there. Email me to that email address. Hit me up on Twitter. You know, unfortunately, I can't give you my phone number because, you know, I get all those car insurance and all those other kind of phone calls all the time anyway. So, but would love to, you know, chat with anybody. You know, get you hooked up with a group, and, you know, hooked up with a one shot or something along those lines. So yeah, there's several ways to get in touch with us.
Nice. Sounds great.
Awesome. And of course, I will put all of those links in the show notes of this episode. So if you want those to just be lazy, you don't want to do what Richard has just told you to do, just click on the notes below and they'll all be there for you. And yeah, I think we're going to go forward, and I think Cleaves and I are going to give this a go. So we'll see how that goes. Get Chad reined in. Yeah, he's already got a free
that's
plug.
possible.
Yeah. Yeah.
Hey, he's got to plug this episode. He owes us. So
we'll hoodwink him into it then.
Yeah, absolutely. But I'm keen to get this a go and see how, what all the fuss is around, and people can look forward to hearing that in the coming weeks.
Nice.
Works for me. I'm assuming you want me to run it for you, you know.
Well, I'd rather you than Chad. Chad's a busy man. Like, I don't think we'd get anywhere.
By any means, would love to. Be great exposure for both of us, I believe.
Awesome.
Perfect. Well, thanks for coming on, man. And of course,
thanks for having me.
Well, we'll give you all the links in the below, and we'll have you on the show soon, doing something a little bit different.
Works for me. Glad to be here and glad to come back anytime you need somebody.
All right.
Awesome.
Cheers, Richard.
Cheers, Richard.
See you.
Thanks for listening to the Seesaw Podcast.
You can find us on Twitter at Seesaw Pod, Facebook, Reddit, Instagram and YouTube at Seesaw Podcast. You can also email us at seesawpodcast@gmail.com. Like, rate, review, subscribe, and then you can also find us on TikTok, but get us on all the other places.